Some of my most recent favorite 2D games are stuff that has been done by the Behemoth. So like Alien Hominid, Castle Crashers, and they got a new one coming out called Battle Block Theater that looks really cool. And then, going further back, I would say, I grew up on the NES, Legend of Zelda, Mega Man, Ghosts and Goblins. I think those kind of had a heavy influence on me as a kid. So, well, for this particular game on the artist side, it's pretty clear that it was inspired by Michel's work. Kicking around the idea of doing a game in his style was super inspiring to me, and pretty much the whole reason why this project exists. So, other inspirations, I guess, would be Peter Chung, some of the Aeon Flux stuff, with no words, and basically all the stuff was pictures and iconography and stuff, and there's not like one word kind of uttered in the whole of all those shorts. So I think definitely while we were kind of me and Michel decided we wanted to go that way with this game, that was always kind of in the back of my mind, even though that was probably 15 years ago when I saw those. So
yeah, my inspiration, growing up as a kid, I was totally into Jack Kirby, Mobius, lots of comic artists, and eventually discovered a lot of fine artists like Picasso, Yves Tanguy, and Kandinsky. So that helped to shape my the way I see art, the way I do art. And these days, I get a lot of my inspiration from reading books. I'm a voracious reader, so I'm always reading a lot of science fiction books, and a lot of my inspirations are coming that way.
Well, I think you got to have passion for the idea that you're setting out to create. I think in the case of Insanely Twisted Shadow Planet, the kind of the main goal that we had set out for ourselves was using modern console power to drive feature quality animation rather than realism and blood and stuff like that. We really wanted to make something that was going to be accessible to everybody, no matter what country you lived in or how old you were. Obviously hitting that is a hard thing to do. And I think, a lot of the older games from the original console era, like, Atari and NES and some of the early Sega stuff, did a really good job of doing that. And once we started getting into more of the blood and the gore, and that kind of became the hook for a lot of games, I think some of that was lost. So,
and my number one thing for me for creating art, and I believe that our game is a work of art, is imagination. Imagination is the number one thing, always, in my book. Coming from a different industry than the game industry myself, hopefully I think that I'm bringing something to the table that wasn't there before, a different sensibility on how the visuals and the animation is achieved. I hope that helps sets the game apart.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's never been a game that's been done in Michel's silhouette style, which I think is wholly unique. Another aspect of the game, which I think is really unique, is the music. We did license a couple of tracks from Dimmu Borgir for the cinematic sections of the game, but the gameplay was actually done by Andrew Scott, who worked with Michel on the original Nickelodeon interstitials called Insanely Twisted Shadow Puppets, which this is loosely based on. And Andrew had never worked in the industry before either, and he had a really kind of unique approach to how he does his personal music and how he kind of approached the music and the sound effects for this game, which really made it feel alien and kind of almost
creepy,
unfamiliar in a lot of ways.
Well, my educational background is I went to Sheridan College back in Toronto, in the early 80s. I studied classical animation, and right after college, I got hired by Don Bluth and worked on 6 pictures for Don Bluth. So a lot of my education in animation and feature animation comes from there, from the school, and then working for Don Bluth for the first 6 years of my career.
I went to the Artist Studio Seattle in computer animation and multimedia. What that really taught me, as aside from the technical, the obvious kind of technical art skills that you learn in a program like that, is also just hard work and long hours. While working on my personal demo reel, I spent a lot of my free time in the computer labs, taking over a bunch of the machines to render. Learning whatever software out there that I needed to kind of get my vision across was really helpful. You end up using a lot of different tool sets and a lot of different software, and it's quite frankly, you got to troubleshoot a lot to get around bugs in the software, or whether it be idiosyncrasies about it. So I think that has helped a lot.
Well, the way it works is first we start discussing concepts for the game and where we want to go. Then from there, I'll start doing a bunch of pre-production paintings and concept designs. I send those to the team. Garrett, who's the art director at FuelCell, will start building a lot of my assets with Polygon and stuff, and then they will actually get more ideas for the gameplay that we initially discussed based on my concepts, and they will start amplifying what I did with some placeholders and stuff, and they'll send that back to me. I will do some paint overs. I'll just do screen captures and do paint overs, and then repaint on top, and kind of keep finessing the arts, and back and forth like that. So we kind of keep it's kind of a ping pong match between me and Joe and his team, where we constantly go back and forth and inspire each other. Mainly, I'm in charge of the artistry of the game, and Joe's in charge of, and his team are in charge of the gameplay. But it's not a hard line. We kind of keep crossing on each other's territories constantly.
Yeah, I think you described it well. It was a lot of back and forth. Sometimes a gameplay idea would come out of a concept that Michel had done. And sometimes, some art ideas would come out of some of the gameplay blockouts that we had done. And like Michel was saying, it was constantly kind of back and forth and always evolving, as far as, the gameplay puzzles and the enemies and the bosses and stuff had a really kind of organic, evolution based on just a lot of back and forth between us and Michel.
Yeah, I think it's a good word to describe it would be like a symbiosis,
I think it's pretty plain how we settle on the art style. It's Michel's Insanely Twisted silhouette all the way. But, it evolved. A lot of the original stuff was all, black and background colors, and all the foreground stuff was black. But, Michel kind of pushed it. As we started designing the ice level, we started getting more of those faceted crystal shapes in the foreground, and so if you play the game, it's it's constantly changing, even though it's all kind of in style. There's all these kind of little styles within it that kind of dictate what world you're in, and you can tell at a glance that if you're in mechanical or if you're in the electrical world, it's all very different. So
also the art style of the game is really my art style. So this is the kind of stuff I've been doing since the age of 12 years old. So it's kind of if I'm gonna be doing something, it's gonna be my art style. I can't do somebody else's art style. So it's really a personal style that I have that and I think any games that I'll ever do in the future will always have a trait. It's not going to be a silhouette game, but it's always going to have a specific style that people will recognize.
Definitely, we were always kind of fighting with the amount of memory that we had at one time. We made Insanely Twisted Shadow Planet as a streaming persistent world. So you know, to be able to kind of load and unload the size of the assets that would make the world as rich as it is and is visually, you know, polished. We're definitely kind of skating the memory line a lot, and you know, having to get really creative about how we stream things in and out, and where we put the detail and where we could pull it out. And so that was probably the most challenging aspect, is just cramming something, you know, as visually rich into the memory at any given point during the game, and you know, having it be a smooth experience for the player.
The first 4 years of trying to get this game done was probably the most insane, because we just, you know, would go on these pitching trips, and you know, we would it would be like, wow, we're going to sign a deal this weekend, you know, for sure, and then it would the whole thing would collapse, or you know, it was up and downs and up and down, and yeah, I would say like anybody getting in this industry and trying to get their games made, you really have to be persistent and believe in your product and have a passion for it, because it can be pretty discouraging. But you know, we stuck it through, and it took us 4 years to get financing, and now we did it. Well, we're very excited about the DLC. I think the DLC is like the best part of the game. I think it's amazing. I cannot wait for people to experience that. It's like a combination with the main campaign and Lantern Run, and it's very lavish. Like the look of it is very lavish. And one of the things that I'm extremely excited about is that it is not silhouette like the game. So I didn't want to do any more silhouette after doing the game. So I was like, hey, we need to find a setting and a way where it makes sense, where we can keep this game going, but get away from the silhouette aspect. So now the only silhouette aspect of the game are actually the enemies, but nothing else is. So that's, for me, just as a visual standpoint, that's very exciting. But beyond that, I think the game is it's so much fun and stuff. So that's really what we're excited, and so we're like just wrapping that up, and we're starting to talk about the next thing, but we really can't discuss it at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Michel described it well. It's definitely it's a co-op experience, but it's a lot closer to the campaign. As far as, you know, we have maps and, you know, puzzles and action, but you can play it with, you know, up to 3 of your friends, either kind of on the couch or over Xbox Live. And it's wildly different. It picks up right where the campaign story left off, and finds you kind of trying to clean up the shadow entity from the rest of your solar system, which is now lurking in the nearby asteroid field. So the way we've kind of set it up is, you know, like Lantern Run, we've kind of expanded on the procedural generation of the levels. So basically, every time you play it, you get a little bit of a different experience. The asteroid map procedurally generates itself out of a bunch of assets that we feed it. So it's, you know, and it ramps up in difficulty as well as you go along. So it's very unique from the main game, but also, you know, I think adds to it in a great way.